What's up, guys? It's your boy Yaniki here. Today we're discussing another banging chapter of My Hero Academia. Gonna dive right into it. Also, I've been telling you to read Vigilantes for a long time. Dropped a video 2 days ago telling you to read Vigilantes. No, I'm not about to cover the entire backstory of Shirakumo in this video. So, if you didn't listen still, after years of Horikoshi telling you to, I'm telling you to do it earlier this week. And right now, that's your problem. Chapters 59 through 65 of My Hero Academia Vigilantes. So, open up with the panel shot of UA, the USJ, and the sports festival. We have 3 months away. We're looking at specifically 3 locations, 3 places that well, what's interesting is we know that the USJ was infiltrated. In the anime, it's clarified that Shigaraki breaks into the school. So the implication here could also be that there was somebody important or a villain was involved in the sports festival the entire time and we didn't know that. So just be on the lookout for that. It could also just be foreshadowing for the sports festival getting attacked, as there will be a high amount of heroes there. It does make sense. I am a big fan of it potentially being a multi-school festival, just to kind of show and bolster support amongst heroes, but across schools as well. So depending on how that goes, we have the full makings for the Civil War, and with all these people, including people like Shishikura, Nasa, etc., doing work stories, mandatory work stories, studies of these couple of months, everybody should be stronger. Ida is actually a little less tense this chapter. He said he learned how to loosen up by hanging out with Manuel, who's now leading a hero team. One of the things that I think is kind of cool is this notion of a hero that Ida was with who wasn't as big back in the day, that he kind of chose just to, just because he wanted to be pursuant of staying, is actually growing in his career, getting better leadership skills, actually improving as a hero since meeting Ida, but also Ida continues to go back there, and I think it's very obvious that Ida and Manuel will eventually, Manuel will, oh man, that's sad. Manuel's probably going to die in the war, so Ida's going to end up taking over the agency in the future, or is essentially that's what that's being built up to, or maybe Manuel will be the closest thing to Tensei as far as in the field while Ida's gone, or in the time where the villains are taking over, that kind of thing. So we might come back to a resistance where Mirio is still there, Sun Eater's dead. He doesn't have his quirk still. He's a lot harsher. He's working with this guy, Manuel, who's leading a bunch of ragtag resistance people. Everybody's darker, more serious, edgy. It's really tragic, and our heroes have to be the beacon of light, not only for the society of victims, but also bring out the best in these people who have lost it in this time period, dealing with Shigaraki being the king. So we cut off into also something that I really want to point out, because I've seen people be concerned about it, is yes, this chapter finishes on Shirakumo, but it's important to note that today's assignment in the class is to talk about work studies. So there's a chance that we'll be getting both what's going on at the prison with Aizawa and a bit of explanations of what people were up to. I don't think Horikoshi would set this up and then just completely drop it as a plot point, but who knows? We'll see. I could be wrong. Usually I'm not when I say he's gonna go and talk about these things, but I could be wrong. I'll give you guys that. But assuming that we're actually gonna do the assignment, then the next couple of chapters could actually be quick, a chapter or 2 dedicated to each of the students having some kind of adventure over the next couple weeks. Just to, 1, add a little levity, because the last arc was a little tense, but 2, to juxtaposition with this heavier, or not last arc, because this is all a part of one arc, I think this is all the major work studies arc, because of the fact that specifically Horikoshi and his editor said this arc would have more reveals and things to look forward to than My Villain Academia does, and I don't think that would just stop or mean that just the Todoroki family drama is the arc. So we need to look at this as something bigger than just the Todoroki family. At least I think we're supposed to see this as a part of an overall, overarching arc. So, the Uraraka thing, we get confirmation she's carrying around the Christmas gift that Deku got her. Just more Deku gravity, coming together, making sure Kachako shippers are disappointed, just trying to do our best to put these 2 very obvious cookie cutter, just now kiss. Actually, we could make that happen. I've got the Funko Pops. Anyway, I'm not going to do that. That would be teching levels of weird. But we get Izuku talking about how he's improved his quirk, and then apparently Bakugo's mask is so sharp and actually like metallic, I guess, that he can just stab Deku in the head with it. I'm pretty sure this is purely gag related because of the fact that we see the binging balls just kind of rip it off like it's made out of fabric during the remedial course arc. But again, I don't know for sure. If those actually have a purpose, then maybe it's besides, I guess if they can stab somebody, I guess that's automatically a purpose, so screw it. Also, I just like the fact that once again we get emphasis by Horikoshi that these kids are buff as hell because like Bakugo is a Chad, like he's ripped. I wish I was that ripped in high school. Like, I wasn't. Not even close. We get All Might showing up to take over the class, and I think if we're going to make it a point to have that, that's another reason why, because it sets up All Might and Deku having some time to talk about Black Whip on panel again. It also gives us some time to see like All Might interacting with the other students as we've been seeing him grow as a teacher, especially since he did help Kirishima, and that's part of how Unbreakable was developed. So I'm hoping that what we get here is we saw a lot of All Might the hero and Eraser the teacher, and I'm hoping that what we're getting here in this section of My Hero Academia is going to segue into us seeing more of Eraser the hero, because that is something that we got to see a lot of in Vigilantes. We got to see Eraser fight Knuckle Duster. We get to see Eraser fight like several just random street villains, plus do drug investigations, all kinds of stuff. So Eraser is basically like maybe the third most fleshed out character in Vigilantes, which means if you take that information plus like what's going on here, yeah. So the idea of us getting to see more Vigilante or hero work Aizawa and more teacher All Might, I think is what's being set up here. These last 3 months, I'm not going to promise that that's what's happening, but I think that's a good direction for this to go. In addition to that, Present Mike is usually played as a gag character, and we're getting a chapter where he's being almost serious, actually he is just being serious the entire way through. And it's always, one of the things that's worth noting is that there are very few panels in which you see Present Mike look serious. Needed a taste of a beverage. And it's when Aizawa was heavily injured at the USJ. If you look at the expression on his face, he was completely shocked, hurt, and concerned, which the backstory that you get for Aizawa makes that make even more sense because they were a part of a trio. And I think President Mike in that moment was really like, oh no, you're not taking my other friend. That's no. And so this, like that shading, like the one eye dark, like the serious, the fur eyebrow, like that, the detail, the fact that Aizawa's got his face covered, they're both finally expressing their concerns. And the thing is that I will tell you that if Shirakumo's corpse is, or if he is somehow alive in there, due to the sophistication of the process, because the thing also in the biz, it clarifies that the quirk itself seems to come from Shirakumo, not that they think that Kurogiri is Shirakumo. So from that perspective, what we could have here is a mid-grade Nomu, essentially, like the one from the USJ, but Kurogiri specifically, while yes, he would be classified as like a mid-grade Nomu, he's a mid-grade Nomu because he's got a utility-based quirk with a lot of intelligence and not a combat-oriented one. And I think that's where this kind of comes down to. And it actually kind of makes sense because, the same eye setup as hood chain or the hood high-end we saw a while back, and there were similarities, but it wasn't a big thing in the community. Even I didn't bring it up. Like, I'm not going to sit here and act like, you guys know it. No, I didn't point it out. I saw it. I didn't think about it. I just was like, oh yeah, like it's bad guy eyes. Woo! But hey, it actually ended up being an extremely important plot point. Going forward, I'm very much looking forward to what the next chapter is going to be. I'm telling you guys right now, though, the personality that Shirakumo had completely justifies the idea of him being such a doting, somewhat character towards Shigaraki. He was a genuinely caring person. So that bit of his personality may be coming through, and that's part of why he's still able to be, the formal bartender, but really kind to Shigaraki and try to put his best interest at heart. He also wasn't necessarily a guy that was big on conflict, so him always acting as a conflict resolution means during scuffles with the League of Villains and that kind of stuff all checks out. So we're getting a lot of, like, one of the other things that's important though is that Gran Torino is doing as much hero work now as he did back in the day. If you remember what he tells Deku, was that like he got his license just because he needed to use his quirk basically to help Nana, and then he peaced out, trained All Might, and was done. But specifically with this being tied to All For One, Sakuchi, like, he's back in the game and he is full force dedicated, and that's something that I always know this is in the background, but I always am kind of impressed that Gran Torino, you know, in the 70s was like, nope, getting back in there, put me in, coach. I'll do what it takes. So I think this arc is transitioning into a weird like storytelling phase of it'll probably be enjoyable, where we're gonna get like a couple stories from the other students. Also, the explanation of Ochako's gear makes me believe that what she kind of does is control the weight of the gauntlet she wears, where as she's landing her hits, she probably takes away the anti-gravity so that it's just like that heavy blow, and then takes it back. So she's got some high technique here. Like that, it's making more and more sense why Ochako's able to like speed blitz the people in the joint training, just like figuring out the kind of gear. She's basically kind of always training. So assuming that she practices with the weight on and then like turns the weight off for when she's actually doing hero work, then she's naturally gonna have like higher jab speeds and those kinds of things, while simultaneously being able to deactivate the gravity, the weight being off, just to get those shots in. I don't know if that's what she's using that for specifically, because they used to just be about the pressure point, but I think it's probably a little bit of both at this point. I don't see why she would settle for using it for purely non-combative purposes. So that's all I'm really going to have to say about this video, this chapter, sorry. It wasn't a particularly long one, and because of the fact that we spent some time transitioning the vibe and like the atmosphere, letting us know that Rest of Avalanche should be in a school thing, and getting a little bit of information on what other people were doing, this was mostly like to transition the tone and the direction of where the arc is going. So let me know what you guys thought of this chapter in the comments below. I actually will be uploading this and another chapter review today that you guys will have to look forward to. So with all that said, hope you guys enjoyed this and the other video that I'll be putting out today. Aniki, out.